On the Newman Jets Audio Network, this is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by Ascension Via Christi, Donlinger Construction, Mel Hambledon Ford, Eck Agency, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, Big Corner Creative, Pepsi, and by iCryo Recovery and Wellness. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
What is it?
Well, it is
7/8.
something like that. Yeah, I think 7 7/8, Coach. Well, we're talking about hat sizes. It's hard to believe that we had snow on the ground earlier this week. Today we are under freezing, but yeah, we're talking baseball with Coach Drew Mouse in his fourth year. His Jets got off to the best start in Division II program history a season ago. 23-23 they wrapped up. 13-20 in the MIAA, finishing just out of the MIAA tournament. 14 more wins last year overall. 5 more wins in association play. Coach, I know with that kind of improvement, you have to be extremely excited about getting back to work here later this week.
Yeah, I'm excited to get going this season. We bring back a lot from last year, so letting them get on the field and compete is one thing that I can't wait to do. I'm glad that we're, 3 days away now, something like that? I don't even know.
Yeah, well, he mentioned that he was tired, and I said, boy, the time constraints aren't going to get any easier for you. It is a Friday start for the Jets at Southern Nazarene. Haven't checked the weather forecast down at Bethany, Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. So it's the Jets and the Crimson Storm coming up. The home opener for the Jets not until February 16th against Minot State. You mentioned last year's team and, the incredible success that they have, and it was a much different feel going into the year because, you said beginning of the year, we've got so many new players. We're not sure what we have. A lot more experience, a lot fewer new players this season. How do you reflect on last year's team and everything that they accomplished? And I know didn't quite get everything done that you thought that they could get done last year, but certainly a huge, massive step in the right direction last year.
100%. I thought last year that we would be better. We were better. So that was a good stepping stone moving forward with the program. I think the one thing that I wanted to happen was we wanted to make the conference tournament, especially being the first time for playing the MIAA, making that and something to build off of moving forward. I'm not necessarily disappointed in what happened last year and not making the conference tournament, but don't feel like we achieved all of our goals that we were trying to set out to do, and just making our guys hungrier for this year. And hopefully the hunger allows them to stay on plan and just execute what we're supposed to do.
What has the off-season prep work been like, and how have the guys attacked what they need to do in order to have the maximum amount of success that they can have this year?
In the fall, we went pretty hard in the fall, but as we were going through practices, we would some form of scrimmage almost every day, but I would give a lot of the guys an off day here or there, not necessarily entirely from practice, but if we were scrimmaging, I'd let Jenner just hit in the cage when we were scrimmaging because he's older. Vanderpool hitting the cage that day because he's older, just trying to make sure that we stay healthy. And so far we've done that for the most part. We've had 1 or 2 guys get nicked up, but nothing so far that should deter us from what we're trying to do.
Coming up on the show today, we will have Asher Finke, a senior pitcher on this team, Jenner Steele, senior hitter on this team who led the Jets in average last season. We'll also talk with Nicole Ohlde-Johnson from women's basketball. That's coming up later in the show as well. And, you mentioned that Jenner Steele, you had to give him some time off because he was old. He's off camera watching right now. And what's it like having Jenner and Asher Finke as a couple of the old guys on this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's Jenner's one of those guys that he's there. Like, you just know, you walk onto the field and he's there. He's big. He's loud. He doesn't stop talking. So, you're fully aware that he's at practice every single day. And Asher is an older guy, and he'll cut it up every now and then. But, he's about his work. And, that was a big confidence booster for me with taking over the pitchers, was knowing that we had a lot of older guys that knew exactly what they needed to do to to improve, what they needed to do to get their work in every single day. So making it not a whole new program of how we do everything and just go about your business the entire time.
Well, you mentioned that there's been some changes in the roster, changes on your coaching staff roster as well, and you mentioned the new role for you, taking over coaching the pitchers. This is the first time you've done it. We talked a couple weeks ago. You haven't coached pitchers before, but I know it's something that you're excited about with the staff that you have coming back. How did you come to that decision, and how do you feel like that's been going so far, and how excited are you to see what the staff can do this year?
Well, I mean, at our level of college, you kind of just hire. When Robbie left, and Robbie did a great job with everything, recruiting, coaching pitchers, and when he left, you don't necessarily go after, I need a pitching guy or hitting guy. You kind of just hire the best candidate that you think can do the
best
job.
Athlete available.
Yeah. For the most part, and with a heavy senior class, upper class, I feel like the recruiting aspect was the big thing that we needed to touch on, and so hiring a guy with a little bit of recruiting background, especially knowledge in this area and knowledge of areas that we're trying to get into more, and then that left him, Coach Pedlow as a hitting guy, so obviously I'm going to have to take over pitchers. I'm not going to make him jump into something that he's not comfortable with. And last year when Robbie and I would talk with pitchers and everything, it was his show. He had full control of everything, but if I felt something needed to be said or whatever, I would jump in. So it wasn't like these guys were sitting there going like, oh my God, what are we doing? And we've tried talking about whatever your opinion on hitting or pitching, is, like, let's have a dialogue about it and try to make this thing work for both of us. You mentioned Joe Pedlow, the new assistant coach who will be coaching the hitters this year. What's that relationship been like with him, trying to get to know this veteran team? Yeah, I think he's been a little more hands-off than he probably normally would be, just with how many guys returning that we have, and not trying to overdo it with them and let them feel through some stuff, and just make sure that they get work in and are tested with different variations of machine work and that type of thing. So trying to not change everything after the improvement that we made last year, but also, give his input here and there with what we should be doing. Certainly last season had a couple of major stars for your team that aren't here. Langrell out of the bullpen, Tyler Push in your lineup, and, certainly a tremendous leadoff hitter, defensive player for you. But I know that you have other guys back from last year's team who had a lot of success. Who are a couple other key returners you think are going to have the same level or maybe even a higher level of success to get this program to where you want it to be at the end of 2023? Yeah, I mean, Vanderpool's, what is he, a 4-year starter for us, I guess, now? He's been around for a while. Yeah, he's been around for a while. I mean, there's going to be records that he's going to break just because he's played every day for 4 years. You have Zach Stewart's back. We have both of our catchers back. Carson Hawks is back. Jake Angelico is back. And, Jake had a really good improvement last year, and he had a fantastic fall. I would say he was our best hitter in the fall for the most part. And from the offensive standpoint, I think it's just finding the pieces. You're never going to replace Tyler Push. He broke the stolen base record by... He broke the stolen base... I think it was season stolen bases, career stolen bases, season triples, career triples. And I don't think it was close, honestly. Season total bases and career total bases. All in one, all last year, those were broken for him. And, you're never going to replace him 1-to-1. But I do think that we've somehow been able to figure out a way in the aggregate of replacing him with a couple of other improvements. We've gotten more athletic. We have a lot more depth this year than we did last year, so that's the thing that I think is going to allow us to win more games, at least from a coaching standpoint of having more options of when can I pitch run here. I talk about last year we played Washburn at home, and there's 2 games specifically where we should have pitched hit, and we should have pitched hit in this situation, and it was the 6th inning that we should have pitched hit in the situation, but we didn't have a lot of depth, and so we were holding on to pitch hit later on in the game.
Sure.
And I'm watching Harley over there just sending a new pitch hitter every inning, and I go, we're never going to be in the top 4 until we get to that point where we can take kids out and feel confident with guys. And I feel like we've gotten to that point. Now they have to go out and do it on the field. But I feel like we've gotten the talent and the ability to do that now.
Well, from all this that I'm hearing, my next question on my sheet here is to ask about the strength of the team. It sounds like you're feeling pretty confident about your offense this year. Do you feel like that's the number one strength? Not that you aren't going to be strong in other areas too.
Yeah. I mean, we bring back so much from last year that you kind of have to feel confident.
You better feel confident.
Yeah, in your offense. The one thing that we're still working through is with the new guys that are coming in is still getting a feel of how everything's supposed to go. You try not to install it all in the fall and let them play and just try and learn baseball and everything like that. But and then you crunch right before the season starts.
Sure.
So trying to get that feel for everything. I think our pitching has been a big improvement for last year, and we haven't really added. I think we've added 3 arms maybe from last year, and we've had 2 or 3 guys that have worked their tails off over the summer and in the fall, have made some big velo jumps. We've had just gradual improvement from guys that pitched last year. Asher, Nate, Garrett, Colby Wilson have all gotten better. Ian's been great this fall and early season, and just making sure that we can stay healthy. And I think that we have more depth there this year than we did last year, and I think that will play off big for us, especially once we get into conference play.
Maybe calling it a weakness would not be accurate, but if there was maybe an area of concern that you feel like you're going to have to see some jumps to make your goals this year, what area do you think that would be coming into the season? Maturity.
We have an older group. They like to play free. They like to have fun. It's when is it time to not have fun, and when is it time to actually allow ourselves to be who we are? And I think that I always think back to that movie Glory Road. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Texas, was it Texas Western, and the first all-black team playing the national championship.
Yep.
And keeps making the comment, we're playing sound, fundamental baseball, and the point guard's like, you got to let us go, and he just makes the comment, he's like, you play your game and you play my game. And I think we both have to still feel each other out of I'm going to let you play the way you want, but you have to do it the way that I want you to do it at the same time. And and they know that, but it's making them understand it every single day and get them to the point where it's like, okay, he's right. So, final question for you. Once again, the season opens up for the Jets this weekend on the road. The home opener is February 16th. Minot State coming to town, 2 o'clock first pitch, and it's a 4-game set here at McCarthy Field. Obviously, as you guys know, as I told you last week with softball, the baseball schedule is merely a suggestion and should not be taken for anything more than it is. So you'll have to stay tuned to NewmanJets.com for the schedule updates. We've already had the season home opener for softball postponed, so make sure you keep your Newman Jets Athletics app handy. You'll need it this year to follow the baseball schedule here in Kansas. But last one for you, goals for the season. I know last year your goal was MIAA tournament. You were right there until the last week, missed it by 1 game. What's the goal this season? I mean, make the conference tournament for sure. But after that, I mean, it's going to be completely dependent upon how we play. I think we're going to test them right out of the gate. I mean, our second weekend we play Wichita Baptist, Henderson State, and Oklahoma Baptist, and they are ranked 5th in the region, 9th in the region, and I think there are other ones receiving votes in the region. And then when you look at the region polls, they're out of, I think there's 5 conference teams in the first region poll. So when we move on from last year, I thought we were trying to just get some wins last year, and now it's, if you guys think you're good, we're going to make sure that you're playing the teams that you can beat, and I guess we'll find out. So.
We will find out very shortly. Once again, SNU this weekend, home opener coming up later in February. Coach Mouse can't wait to get out there to call some action on the audio network here later this season. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We will be back with Asher Finke, Jenner Steele, talking NU baseball after this on the Jetcast.
I have a little birthday message for you from someone too.
I heard you really love basketball. You're a good shooter and a good dribbler. Happy birthday, MJ, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Back here on the Jetcast, hard to believe that baseball season is already here, but we are talking Diamond Sports, wrapping up our Diamond Sports previews this week. We are joined here by a couple of seniors on this year's team looking to take yet another step forward in Jets baseball here in 2023. Asher Finke, senior right-handed pitcher out of Texas, and Jenner Steele, a transfer in out of Missouri, and Hutchinson Community College first baseman, led the team last year, an average of .363, 14 doubles, 10 home runs. Finke, on the other hand, was the Jets' best starting pitcher last year at 7-2, 4.83 ERA, and a starter's best 1.46 WHIP. Opponents hitting just .258 against him. Guys, you mentioned it's been a while since you've been here, but it's great to have you guys back on the show. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I know you guys are excited to be here and excited for the season coming up, and I know that part of that excitement is based on the huge improvement that you guys showed on the diamond last year. Talk a little bit about last year's team and what you guys did that made you successful a year ago.
Last year's team was obviously, as you said, a lot of improvement, and we're still not satisfied. We still have higher goals that we want to reach, and so we have tunnel vision. We're staying on the tracks. We're still trucking forward.
What's the offseason been like for you, Jenner, and in terms of just bringing this team together in order to make sure that you guys take that next step?
Well, I mean, we got a bunch of new dudes this year, so a lot of team chemistry this year, trying to focus on the little things that here and there that we lost a few games by either errors or just by not scoring enough runs. So I feel like all offseason we kind of just focused on doing those little things to win ball games. What
was it like last year? I know that, at the beginning, I think it was through the first 12 games or so, it was the best start in Division II history, and there was a buzz about campus for baseball. It'd be nice to recreate that this season, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
It would be nice, and I think we can definitely do that. And I think what we need to do is do that and also continue it to the beginning part of MIAA conference play.
What do you feel like was the source of the improvement, Jenner, last year? You guys, I think I wrote down, I mentioned it in the first segment with Coach Mouse, that you guys won, it was 14 more games than the previous year. You guys won 5 more MIAA games than the year ago than the previous season. What do you think was the catalyst for that improvement and that step forward?
Well, I think honestly cleaning house helped a lot. Bringing in a bunch of new guys, that JUCO players that have experience and that have already played college baseball, but also the preseason games too. Getting 12 to 15 games in before we go into conference play really helped us get comfortable in the box, helped us do the little things right. So,
well, how are the hitters looking to attack here in 2023? As you guys had a very, very high power, I think you set the program record for home runs in a season last year. So how do you continue building on that for this year?
Just come out swinging right off the bat. Just be aggressive in the box. Try to, score runs, as many runs as we can. Try to play defense, but mostly just come out swinging, ready to go.
Well, Asher, what's your offseason been like in terms of getting set for, I'm assuming, another year in the starting rotation? And what in the offseason have you been working on to try to make sure that you're at your best?
It's been a long offseason. It's been an offseason that was drawn out because I was so ready to get back. And a lot of stuff that I was working on is just being able to be more consistently in the zone. One of my biggest issues last year was walks, and that's not going to play. And it was always the big walks. It was like the walk and then the home run, or the walk and then the double. So that was one thing that I really focused on, and more of from a mechanical standpoint of how I can fix that. And me and Mouse have worked with that a lot this fall and going into the spring, and I've seen a lot of improvement, so I'm happy about that, and I'm excited to get going.
Well, you mentioned Coach Mouse. This is going to be his first time coaching pitchers here at Newman. What's that been like, having Coach Mouse as the pitching coach?
It's been pretty good. it's a lot different than having Robbie last year, but nothing wrong with that. I mean, he definitely knows his stuff, and we listen to him, and we understand where he's coming from, and it's always an open conversation. He doesn't. The one thing I really like about him being the coach is that it's a two-way conversation. You just not feel like he tells you something and you have to do it. He's always leaving that line of communication open for you to explain how you feel, maybe what you think, and it's just nice to have that two-way communication.
And then, Jenner, this season you'll be coached by a new hitting coach. Not that Coach Mouse won't give his input as always, but what's it been like getting to know Coach Pedlow before this baseball season?
Coach Joe's really good hitting-wise. He like Asher said, it's a very open conversation always. You kind of go to him with suggestions, and he fills your answer based off of that. So if you just have little tweaks here and there, he's always there to correct you or to tell you to do something. So one thing I was working on all off season is using my lower half more and getting better timing. So we've been working a lot using my lower half, and obviously Coach Mouse comes in a couple times a week and he still helps us, but it's nice having Joe over there every single day.
You look at this Newman Jets team, by the way, the home opener is set for February 16th against Minot State. It's a 4-game series at McCarthy Field starting at 2 o'clock. This question is for both of you. Jenna, we'll start with you. How have you guys kind of embraced this role? Not that you weren't leaders last year. You certainly were. I mentioned all the categories that you guys did lead last season, but it's a little bit different when you know it's your last season of plays. Both of you guys will be walking on senior day at McCarthy Field there in April or whenever it is. What changes for you guys in terms of the leadership that you feel that is required of you, being a guy who's been through the MIAA battles, has led the Jets to such a big step forward, and obviously you want to make your legacy continued improvement here in your senior year. So, Jenner, what's the responsibility like for you as a senior leader on this team?
I mean, it's very big. Going into your last year, obviously, everybody knows it's my last year, so being a leader is kind of something that I've really wanted to do. Last year, I did fill in a little bit with that, but this year I have a bigger role with that, teaching the younger kids what it's like to win ball games, what it's like to succeed in the MIAA, and so I feel like by teaching them that, and after I leave, they can come in and fill my shoes.
Asher, what's the bullpen like this year in terms of your leadership and your role to bring not just the starters around, but all the arms around?
With me, the one thing that I'm looking forward to is having that experience in MIAA and seeing what those hitters are like. As last year, I was a leader in the pitching staff, but also it was all new for me. I'm still trying to go through, so I would still pick Connor Langrosbrain last year and Ian Leckie and talk about the hitters in this conference. But now that I have a first-hand experience with almost 80 innings against them, I think that that's going to be my biggest key to success, to bringing along the other arms that we have, because we have a lot of newer arms, new traveling guys that are going to see a lot of innings out there, and so my experience in MIAA play and explaining to them how it works and, you know, what each team tries to do and how we can attack those hitters and just bring them along that way.
Last question for you guys. We'll start with you first, Asher, then Jenner. I want your thoughts on it as well. Have you guys discussed goals for the team? What are your personal goals? What are your team goals for the Jets this year?
As a team goal, a lot of people talk about last year, and we have like a and attitude, like, so what? Yes, we did that. Yes, we did this, but we're not winning unless we win a national championship. It's in every sport. Like, yeah, you do it a lot better. We're doing good, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough until you win on the ultimate stage, and so that's always going to be our goal, no matter what anybody else thinks. And so that's kind of how we're treating it all.
Jenner, your thoughts?
Obviously, the goal is to win a national championship, but we need to start with making the conference tournament. Obviously, last year we missed it by 1 game, and Coach Mouse always talks about how important it is to focus on the game that you're playing in, because you never know what exactly is going to happen at the end of the year. And last year we missed it by 1 game, so I obviously don't want to be in the 8-7 conference. We want to be in the top 4 so we can host. So definitely hosting and winning a lot of ball games.
The Newman Jets get their season started this weekend at Southern Nazarene. Once again, the home opener, February 16th, 4-game series starting on that Thursday against Minot State, 2 o'clock for the first pitch at McCarthy Field. And we will have baseball covered once again on the Newman Jets Audio Network when we get into conference play here in March, guys. So looking forward to seeing you out there again. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
We will wrap up the show with women's basketball next on the Jetcast. Wrapping up here with women's basketball, the Newman Jets back in action. Maybe should have led the show with this, but we were wrapping up our Diamond Sports previews. It is Hall of Fame week here at Newman University. Hall of Fame game is coming up on Saturday. The Jets are going to be hosting Nebraska Kearney. The ladies are going to have, at the time of this publication, as we're recording it, we're still waiting on the top 25 rankings to come out. We would assume that there's not been a glitch in the system, that Nebraska Kearney is going to be in the top 25, probably going to be in the top 15, and may even be in the top 10. They've got a 7-game winning streak. First up for the Jets this week will be Fort Hays State on Thursday. Of course, we'll have doubleheader coverage for you on the Newman Jets audio network. 5:30 for the ladies. Men will follow. And to talk about all of that, we've got Coach Nicole Ohlde-Johnson, assistant coach for women's basketball, on the show here. Thanks so much for being on the show, Coach.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Blake. I appreciate it.
Well, it is hard for me to believe, and I know that I'm going up to do pregame with Coach Drew here in a little bit after we get done. It's hard for me to believe that we're here to the last 8 games. We were here 1 month, and it feels like we just started. I was just doing volleyball and saying, hey, I'll be up to start basketball, and now it's just a blink and the season's over.
Yeah, it goes so fast. Like, it's crazy. I mean, you start a couple games and you're like, okay, we're getting into conference. We got a long road ahead. And then all of a sudden it's February. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know where the time went.
It's amazing. And it shows you, I mean, I'm sure, did it feel like this when you played? That the season, I mean, I know in the WNBA, how many games did you guys play?
It's still roughly around 30.
Around 30. So did it feel this quick when you played?
Not really. And I had a blast playing, so it wasn't like the season drug on or anything, but I don't feel like it was over this fast.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you go in, and we're here at the last weekend now, and it just goes to show you, I think, when you're trying to make the top 10 for MIAA tournament seeding, boy, every game is so precious because, you look at the schedule and you think, oh, well, gosh, we got 20-plus games. We have a 30-game season, or 26, 30, depending on the season that it is. And, boy, every game is so precious, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And obviously we got some at home here coming down this last home stretch, and those will be really important. Got a couple on the road, one of them very, very important. And so, honestly, we're just telling our kids, take it one game at a time. One game isn't going to make or break your season. But obviously, if you can keep getting better and just compete each game, hopefully you'll like where you end up in the end.
Last weekend was a tough assignment for you guys, going to Missouri Southern, Pittsburgh State, a couple of teams that played very, very well against you here at Fugate Gymnasium, and very different games. But what were you and Coach Drew, what were your guys' thoughts on last week?
Yeah, I mean, I think our kids battled hard. Obviously, those two teams that we played are very talented, and obviously Missouri Southern scores it really well, and Pitt scores it really, really well.
Yeah.
And so we were able to put some points on the board that, we're trying a few different things and trying to get a few different actions in there. So we were working on those things and just trying to fine tune a few things. And so we felt good about that. We felt like there were some things we could go back and watch on film and tweak a little bit more to get even better at. But they're just tough matchups, and we felt like we competed hard. We went on the road. Obviously, you want to try to steal one. We didn't get that done, but our main goal, like I said earlier, is just now let's get into practice again. We got 2 hard ones this week as well, but let's get better, and just see where we end up in the end.
Defensively against Pittsburgh State, you guys, in terms of offense as a team, you had such a huge improvement in terms of your shooting percentage. You guys shot 46%. You made 11 of 22 threes. I think offensively you probably did everything that you wanted to do against Pittsburgh State, but obviously defensively, they were lights out. They shot 63%. Yeah. What did you think about the defense last week?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I think it boils down to some scouting report errors, and then obviously Erin Davis for Pitt got really, really hot.
She did.
Super hot. And so if stuff like that happens, we just have to adjust a little bit quicker. Like, she hits one, okay. It's not necessarily what she loves to do. It's what she can do, but it's not what she loves to do. She hits 2, okay, we might have to adjust a little bit. Can't allow her to get 6 in the first half and not adjust to that. And so some nights, some kids just have it, and it's really hard to guard. But I think there's some things that we need to do to try to take people out of what they like to do or what they prefer to do. And so we didn't do great at it. And so once again, there's some things that we can fine tune, and just hopefully the last 6-7 games, like when you're making a push at the end, you are 100% on top of your game and what you want to do defensively.
I think that the article will probably be coming out. It probably came out yesterday, or maybe it's coming out. It probably is coming out before this interview is being published, which is Wednesdays at 6. And we'll go Wednesdays at 1 because we got a lot of Wednesday games for some reason. This will be the most Wednesdays we've played in, I think, any Division II season that we've ever had.
This is our last Thursday.
At Newman. This is crazy how many Wednesdays we have in the MIAA. Sure is nice not making 13-hour trips to Texas, am I right? But it seems like Brittany Ho has like about 2/3 of my article that is being written, in terms of all this records, and now she's on this top 10 list, and she's made this top 10 list. She's going to be top 10 season scorer. She's close to that. She had one of the top 10 scoring games, 34 points, was the second most field goals ever made in a game, second most attempts in a game. When you're watching her work and just seeing the incredible improvement from last year to this season, her senior season, boy, that has to be extremely rewarding for you guys as a coaching staff to see the kind of year that she's putting together.
Yeah, I mean, she's having a great year, and like you said, it's just a ton of work being put in by her, whether it was the off season during the summer or even during the season now. And it's obviously she's very, very coachable. She listens to what you ask her to do, and her footwork is just phenomenal in the post. I mean, she's a 6-foot post player going against night in, night out, either 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and so her ability to be able to get her shot off in the paint is exceptional. And then obviously she's shown a little bit that she can stretch it to 3 some, and she's not living at the 3-point line, which sometimes bigs like to do.
Sure.
We get in the, we feel one go in, and then we think we're a Steph Curry or something.
That's right.
So she's adapted a little bit to, okay, I can score it in the post, but then I could also stretch it some. And then I was looking at just like the stats from the MIAA, and I mean, she's 3rd in scoring, but she has taken the fewest free throws out of the top 10, and the fewest threes. And so she's doing it by just scoring buckets, and it's not all about the 3-point line. It's twos, and it's hard-earned twos, and so I think that says something for her.
And another player, because I don't want everybody to think, well, it's all about Brittany Hill, even though offensively maybe it is, but there are other players that are having good seasons for you guys, and one of them, I called her the glue girl in the article, is Maddie Spagnola. She, in 1 year here in Wichita, coming in as a graduate, her last year of eligibility, she's got a shot here to be in the top 10 in terms of season assists, got a shot to be in the top 10 in terms of single season steals. So she's kind of been doing the little things for you. And, she can, as she put in, 5 3-pointers, which was a new, I think it was the 19 points was a Newman career high. It was her season high. And the 5 threes was a career high. So she's able to bring a lot to the table too, isn't she?
Yeah, she does. And you talk about glue. I mean, she holds us together. And whether it's like defensively talking and getting in gaps and being able to poke things away when people are driving it, or just being able to knock down shots. And there's been times we've told her, Maddie, you need to shoot it more.
Sure.
And so I think she's done that the past couple games a little bit more, and we need her to do that to be successful. And so she's just been tremendous. We've loved her since the day she stepped on the court. She lives and breathes sports, and that is right up Drew's alley. It's right up my alley.
Sure.
We talk about it all the time, and so she's just a kid that has a passion and a drive for it. And if she can rub off on anybody, then she has done her job here, and we're very thankful for it.
And if you want to hear her thoughts on her Chicago Bears, you can go back a couple of weeks to a previous episode of the Jetcast where she talks about the heartbreak and the tribulation of being a Bears fan. Talking about the teams this week, Fort Hays State on Thursday, Nebraska Kearney on Saturday. They've both been getting a lot of accolades, and Fort Hays State's accolade, of course, is that they have a 2-time and now reigning MIAA Player of the Week, and Wagner her second award. And obviously she was a handful in the first game, and she's going to be a handful for you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, Katie obviously is really talented, and she might be one of the hardest working kids in this league. And so she can score from a couple different areas. She shot the three better this year than she ever has. She doesn't take very many, but she's still shooting it at 50%. But she can score at 15, 17 feet and in. I mean, she's super talented. And so we're going to have a tough matchup, and we're going to try to throw a lot of different bodies at her, and it's going to take a total team effort. But she's pretty talented.
And then you've got a Nebraska Kearney team that comes in, and they're really just a team. I don't think they have anybody in the top 15 in scoring in the MIAA. They've got a couple. I think they've got a top 10 rebounder. They've got some great defenders. In terms of defense, they are miles in front of I think Fort Hays State is the number 2 defensive team, and Nebraska Kearney is 9 points better defensively. They only average 50 a game that they allow in MIAA play. So this is really a team that you're playing for Hall of Fame Day on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's obviously, they can score the ball, but one thing I think they hold their hats on is obviously being able to play defense. And they're long, they're athletic. They obviously defensively just talk really well and move really well, and they like to take you out of a lot of stuff. And so credit to their players, credit to their coaching staff. They do a great job of putting you in positions that make it tough to score. And so we're going to have to come in. We're going to have to, one, be aggressive. Don't be scared of the moment. And, obviously just kind of see what happens and just don't be timid.
One thing, you can't ever say timid about this guy. One guy in an interesting moment, I think you guys were helping move in some freshmen. You were accosted out in the parking lot by this fanatic in a Mercury jersey. Josh Perlman, I believe, was the guy, and paints his face up for all the game. But I'm betting you did not expect to see somebody in a Mercury jersey here.
I did not. I turned around, and it took me a second to figure that out. But Josh is great. We love Josh. Obviously, he does a tremendous job on his side of things in admissions, and he is one of the biggest Newman fans that we have, and we cannot be more thankful for him, what he does for us, obviously off the court with our student athletes, and then just being a Newman fan. We're very thankful for
and
Josh.
Obviously a Nicole Ohlde fan as well. Coach, I did want to ask, because you've had such an incredible career, and an WNBA championship, and I played with, I think, by acclamation, one of the, I don't know if the greatest, but one of the all-time greats. What was it like playing with Diana Taurasi?
It was phenomenal. She is, obviously everybody knows about her ability to score it and all these accolades, but one thing they don't know about her is just what a tremendous teammate she is. And she makes everybody feel like, whether you're the best scorer or the last person off the bench, that your job and your role is super important. And so she just takes the time to get to know people, and she's going to lead you and know how to lead you. And I just think, that's rare. And
sure.
So it was phenomenal playing with her, though, and obviously she makes everybody around her a little bit better, too.
It helps to be that good. And it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people will say, that Michael Jordan is the best player ever. I don't know if there's anybody who's saying, oh, Michael Jordan, what a great teammate, so supportive. We've, all these things have come out about, Michael Jordan punched me and all this stuff. And but it's interesting that you can look and see, just because you are great, there are different ways to be a leader, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. No, don't go be talking about Michael too much, because that's my guy. But
sure.
But there are different ways to lead, for sure. Diana has that. I think people talked about Sabrina Ionescu like that a lot.
Sure.
Just the ability to get a lot of things out of people on your team, and being a great player, but also being a really good leader. And I think Maddie has that a little bit about her too. Just being able to lead on the court, and being able to talk to a lot of different people, and know a lot about other different people. And so once again, it's just nice to have Maddie in your program, and somebody who can do that.
Last question for you. You come to this last stretch of the season. It's a sprint to the finish, 8 games. As of today, you guys are 1 game out of being in that 10th spot. You'll have a chance to pick up that game against Central Oklahoma, so that could be absolutely massive, because both of you are right there. That'll be the last game of the season. But what's the mindset that this team needs to have to put themselves in position to make a run here down the stretch? You mentioned it's going to be nice to have a lot of these games at home. How do you take advantage of that?
Yeah, just 1 game at a time. And honestly, honestly just one practice at a time. Can we come in? Can we be competitive? Can we be focused? Can we stay true to the scouting report when we're actually in the game? And then, just being at home, hopefully having a big crowd, hopefully having a big student section, and just coming out and competing every single day.
It is Hall of Fame week. We will have the action covered for you starting on Thursday, 5:30 doubleheader, the Jets and the Tigers, and then Hall of Fame Day on Saturday, 1:30 doubleheader. The Hall of Fame, you can still get that RSVP at NewmanJets.com right now, but that'll be the Jets and the Lopers coming up on Saturday, 1:30 doubleheader, and the Hall of Fame ceremony will induct the 2023 class after the game. You can hear all the action this week on the Newman Jets Audio Network, NewmanJets.com/listen, or watch on the MIAA Network, the MIAA-network.com/Newman. Can't wait to see you out there on Thursday. Thanks so much, Coach.
Sounds great. Thanks, Blake.
Next week, we will have more Jetcast coming up, and we've got a lot more spring sports to talk. We've got triathlon coming up. We've got bowling we need to get to, so stay tuned. We've got it all covered here on the Jetcast, so we'll see you next week. Until then, Blake Cripps in Wichita saying, Go Jets.